That basically is when starts pulling, she says Krishna, Krishna, and what happened?
He allows the sari to be infinite.
Correct? Okay. There are 2 shlok of that intent, actually 2 lines, not even 2 shlok, given in Mahabharata. But I am saying in that sense, Draupadi Vasran did not happen. Now you would say, well, they are right because Krishna supplied the sari. I'm saying not because Krishna supplied the sari. But when Dushasan started doing it and Bhim just gets up and he says to Nakul or Sahadev, bring that fire and I want to burn the hands of Yudhishthir. And long story, Arjun says, no, what are you telling your elder brother and so on. And Bhima says, I'll bring it to Krishna and Bhima. Bhima says, I am going to kill these guys right here. And now other people say, and even our modern analyst says, Bhima didn't have a sense. How could he would have killed them? And does it make sense to kill them? Krishna says, if I was there, I would have killed them right there. Now, isn't that what Bhima was saying? And Bhima was very much capable. In fact, right in that sabha, you know what Bhishmacharya says? Bhishmacharya says, Bhima, calm down right now. Eventually, you are going to do it. Do you know what Madhvacharya says? So, Madhvacharya calls Krishna as a Bhagavate Vasudevaya Purushottamaya, but like that. And he calls Krishna Purushottam and he calls Bhima Narottam.
What is Narottam?
Greatest among the men. Right? And so Bhima is considered hero by Madhvacharya. Bhima is considered hero based on the Mahabharata evidence by one of my great influence, and I consider him like a guru, Dr. P.V. Vartak, Padmakar Vishnu Vartak. And my research shows very much that. So just that point, that Bhima, that typical thing that we think he doesn't use much of this part is not true at all. Actually, Bhima has anticipated this every time. Another one, I'll just give you an example. Krishna says, I would have killed them right there, or we should go and right now kill. And Yudhishthir comes in and says, no. 12 years and 13 years, we have to wait. And Krishna says, all right. But do you know what Bhima does? After 1 year of this forest living goes away. Just like last time we talked about Ahoratra Samvatsara, sometime in a certain situation, a day can be considered like a year, or a year can be considered like a day. Here, Bhima says, in certain situations, a month can be considered like a year. And he uses a beautiful linguistic thing. Do you know what it is? Masa is a month. Just do the ulta. Sama is a year in Sanskrit. Masa is a month. Ulta Sama is a year. He says, hey, this can be done like this. We have already spent 13 months. That is equivalent to 13 years. Let's go and kill them. Which Krishna is also agreeing. And you can have many instances like this. So they are literally, this Narottama and Purushottama are really in a sync throughout the Mahabharata.
Because we're talking about Bhim, I want to talk a little bit about Ghatotkach.
Yeah.
His son, who was actually a key warrior in the Mahabharata as well.
Yeah.
And he was one of the big reasons that the Kaurava army started facing defeat.
Yes.
Like that's where the scales tilted a little bit with the introduction of Ghatotkach.
Actually huge, because his participation forced Karna to use one of the weapon that he has reserved exclusively for Arjun, and he had to use it on Ghatotkach. Ghatotkach got killed, and now no longer that weapon was available to Karna.
And the context for Ghatotkach is that Bhim had a son with a lady who was supposedly what's the English
like
word?
A Rakshasi, you mean?
Like a demon?
We shouldn't use the English word. We should use Rakshasi. Rakshamiti Rakshasa. These are very powerful people. Demon looks like a very demonic in the sense of a bad person. There is nothing bad about them.
But I know that the backstory of this lady, it was Hidimba, right?
Hidimba.
Her brother, Hidimba, was a cannibal.
Yeah.
So were there cannibalistic tribes at that point?
We have it in our times. You know the story of Idi Amin in Uganda?
Yeah.
He used to cut human beings and put it in the refrigerator.
As recently as 400 years ago, there have been cannibalistic tribes.
Idi Amin is like less than 50 years, for example. Dongo tribe, or the Dongo tribe in Africa. In their tradition, I don't know if they do that now. I don't know the update. But when some old person in the family goes away, they actually would, and forgive me if it's not Dongo, but some other tribe in Africa, they will cook that person's meat and actually gets distributed. Just like we have the some events after a person dies away, like 10 days and 13 days, something like this. It's like that person is living through us now.
Damn.
Yeah.
So do you believe that Hidim and Hidimba were a part of a tribe like that?
They could be. So I mean, if Hidim was eating, right? I mean, Hidim, there was another one, Bakasur,
Yeah.
right?
It's all these Rakshasas which are mentioned along with Bhim's
Yeah.
part of the story.
Yeah.
Bhim was known to slay these Rakshasas.
Yeah.
The actual overarching question is, what are Rakshasas?
Well, Rakshamiti Rakshasa, but they may be considered in the bad light for necessarily, possibly the habits like that. So, person is already a individual, right? But gets into a bad habit, let's say, including like eating other human beings, right? So it's like that. Now, just because you mentioned Hidimba, how did she decide to marry Bhim? It's not like some statecraft plot. She was totally impressed with Bhima's being handsome. And even then, do you know what Bhima does? Now, I'll give you a comparison between Bhima and Arjuna, just a humorous and interesting comparison. Bhima, even when Hidimba asks to marry him and spend time with him, Bhima says, well, I have to ask my elder brother. Okay, Bhima does that, and Yudhishthir discusses that. Okay, you stay with her until she has a baby, and then Bhima says, "I will leave you after that. Is that acceptable?" And that's what happens, Ghatotkach and so on. On the other hand, Arjun, when he goes on his trip, okay, he's not waiting for to get a permission from. I'm just giving as a humorous comparison.